All right, all right, all right. So, ever since that debacle to the Washington Commanders a few months ago, everything's been building up to this. We've been talking about free agency and the guys we lost, talk about free agency and the guys we brought in, like the Roy Lopez's of the world. A lot of it was pretty underwhelming. Um, Myself, right along with everybody else in his fan base, saw exactly what the pass rush was last season, not only on the edge, but as well as on the interior. On this show, we've been preaching for probably the last couple months that just pulling things away from GM Brad Holmes' pressers, Dan Campbell's pressers, how they've drafted the first 3, 4 years, everything has pretty much pointed towards them valuing interior pass rush and defensive tackles over the edge. Now, they did take Aiden Hutchinson, number 2 overall. That was kind of a no brainer. He was the best player on the board. Turned out to be, so far, I think, best player in that class. You can argue neither here nor there. But nonetheless, all of this over the past few months, the combines, um, all the talk about the Mike Greens, the James Pierces of the world, Darius Alexander, Walter Nolan, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. Through all of those names, there was always one name that stood out last June, stood out last October, stood out last September. Been kind of up and down on the boards for the most part, but he played on a defensive line at Ohio State that was loaded all across the board with seniors, few underclassmen, but was loaded for the most part. But for the most things about it, he's always been probably the most physically talented. Always had the most upside over Tiamula. However you spell it, JT. I'm just gonna call him JT. Also Jack Sawyer for that matter. Tyleik got to Ohio State overweight, like a lot of defensive tackles do. I don't care what state you come from. It's kind of hard for a head coach in high school football to keep a bunch of 16 to 17-year-olds in place diet wise, especially when you're talking about offensive linemen. But nonetheless, he got to Ohio State, shedded that baby fat rather quickly, similar to what Jordan Davis did when he was at Georgia. But the only thing different was it took Jordan Davis 2.5 years to really shed that weight. So I am proud that it took Tyleik Williams way lesser time to shed that baby fat. Then you can also make the Aleem McNeil comparison. When he was at NC State, he was overweight. They kind of bulked him up to that two-play nose tackle. Got to Detroit, got his health together, got his weight down within 2 seasons. Tyleik got himself in shape 1.5 seasons, maybe I think by spring ball following season after his freshman year. He was pretty much there. And if he wasn't fully there, he was at least getting there. But nonetheless, everybody's pretty much agreed when it comes to Tyleik Williams. If he ever got in shape, he was probably the most talented guy along that defensive line at Ohio State. Well, he got himself in shape, and he was a disruptor. Now, this is why he kind of slipped the way he slipped, because if you look at Tyleik Williams overall as a defensive tackle, you're talking about 6'3". He was 334, I believe, during that, and I'm going to get to some film in a second, Ohio State versus Texas. I want to give you guys a little bit of film on him before I get into like my personal breakdown of him. But 6'3", 334, you're talking about a guy, he's probably, last I checked, he was 6'3", 327. So he did cut a little bit more weight. But if you're talking about a guy who can do the number one job, which is as a nose tackle, which may ultimately be his final destination in the NFL, not to call it like his death or anything like that, but he's the guy that can protect the line of scrimmage. First and foremost, if you're going to be 6'3", 334, more than likely, you're going to see a lot of zero right over the center. You're going to see a lot of A-gap protection, both A-gaps. You're going to be asked to do a whole lot of two-gapping. They're going to want you to be able to take on the center and the guard, figure out how to get off that combo, still protect both gaps. Number one, make tackles in the run game. He can do that. Now, Was he misused at Ohio State? I don't think so. They gave him more snaps at three tech, way more snaps at three tech, which was ironic because you would expect him to be at his best. And to me, he was at his best when they played him at zero tech and they played him at two. They didn't really bounce him outside too much, lining him up on tackles at four tech. But for the most part, Tyleik Williams, and he made his money at one, at two, and at zero. And I'm thinking at the next level, that's kind of what he's going to be, simply because you don't see too many defensive tackles his size that get to the next level who pretty much made their bread and butter off of being power rushers and being a disruption in the middle of the defensive line. Typically, those types of defensive tackles, they don't develop much more handwork wise or whatnot. Not to say this handwork is bad, but for one, you're in too many confined spaces. It's not like you're playing four tech or you're playing an edge rusher and you have more space. You have time to gather yourself. You have time to get to your sets and sometimes catch the guy. And sometimes you can bull rush through him. You can rip pulls, a lot of different things you can do. There's not a lot of space on the interior. This is why I think the issues some scouts had with him as far as his handwork, as far as his overall pass rush arsenal, for what you're going to really ask him to be. And this was even before the Lions took him. I even knew the Lions were thinking about taking him. Typically, you're going to take advantage of the fact that he's going to be too much for most left guards when it comes to the pass rush. When it comes to the run game, he's too stout for you to handle with one guy. So you're going to have to always double team on the interior. So to make a long story short, what Brad Holmes did tonight was go out and do exactly what we talked about on the show last night and exactly what me and Spirit of Detroit talked about earlier this afternoon on the show that we did earlier. They went out and got themselves a defensive tackle that can help them in the run game, number one, first and foremost. And also, he may not get home and get a ton of sacks, but he's a guy that can destroy the pocket from guard to guard. So it all depends on what you value more. Because we talked about it earlier. The run defense down the stretch wasn't all that good either. Now, I understand guys were in, guys were out. We were pretty much down to guys off the street for that matter, for the Washington Commanders game by the time that game rolled around, but we were still lacking. This guy brings incredible size combination with athleticism and talent. Something that we really needed on the interior of that defensive line. So with that being said, before I get into the film and start talking about this guy a little bit more, I'm going to get to some comments. So my initial thought is I like it. I get it. We didn't really talk too much about Tyleik Williams on this show because we kind of focused more on the higher graded guys. But I would say put him kind of on par with Kenneth Grant. And as explosive as an athlete as Kenneth Grant is, this guy right here probably has a higher ceiling than Kenneth Grant. So, Lions fans, you potentially got yourselves one in Tyleik Williams. Let's get into some comments. We got Ralphie. What's going on, my boy? Let's go. My boy AJ says, bro, I can't believe how they doing Sanders. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into that, but it is rough. Boy slipped out of the first round. Grab myself some water. Make sure you cover the tag on there. No free promotion. Learn that from Kawhi Leonard. Ralph, and I know you watch it when I say that. All right, man. What's up, Mike Barker? He says, hey, Walt, what's up? My brother Rob says, Holmes with all that, I don't draft for need crap. I'm not all mad at the pick, but we put a band-aid on an existing issue instead of what we need to move forward. Rob, I get it. I get it, but just trying to explain to y'all, man, just look at it from this point. Would you rather have somebody who is 90% pass rusher and 10% run stopper, or a guy who's kind of 50-50, or a guy who may be 60% run stopper, 40% pass rusher? And I get it. Like I said, defensive tackles typically don't fill up the stat sheet when it comes to sacks. But you're talking about a guy that can get a ton of hurries and QB hits. Like I said, he's a game plan wrecker. At least he can be at the next level. And scheme versatility. You're talking about a guy with the size and the athleticism to play 3-4 nose, or if you want to play him in some bare fronts or some 4-4 fronts, he can play anything up there too, all the way out to defensive end in a bare front. So they got a big athletic young dude who also probably going to replace DJ Reader. Now this season coming up, this is big because long as young dogs stay healthy, he's going to play a big role for us. He has no choice. This draft pick right here also pretty much spells the end, I believe, for Broderick Martin. So here we go. Rob also says, hell of a run stopper at Ohio State. Yep. Ralph says, great the pick. Initially, because I do like Tyleik Williams. Like I said, I thought he was more gifted, more talented than the rest of those dudes on the team. Not saying that any of those other dudes could possibly be better pros than him, but I did feel like Tyleik was just scratching the surface this year. And he could have went back to Ohio State, but he decided to go ahead and leave. But Tyleik Williams is a guy that's just scratching the surface, and I would say to give you guys a visual, you're talking about a guy probably with like Sean Rogers size, way more in shape, of course. But you're talking about a guy with like Sean Rogers size, a little bit more athleticism, in shape a whole lot more. And for the most part, he's gonna bring that attitude too. For lack of a better phrase, grit. This is something else too. This is a guy that actually fits what they like here, personality wise. So he's a dude that's gonna be a dog. He's gonna fight in the line of scrimmage. He's gonna shrink the pocket on quarterbacks. He's gonna funnel the quarterback outside to whoever our edge rusher is gonna be, whether it's a well, it won't be a Lean McNeil, but whether it's Marcus Davenport or somebody that we may draft or tomorrow night or Saturday, or somebody that we may pick up in free agency. So I would give it, for what we needed and what we got, combining that with the size, the position, the ceiling, I would give it a B. I think it's a good pick. I think it's a solid pick. And long as he's healthy, he's a guy that's going to play a role for us next season. Marcus Willis, what up? Marcus says he likes to pick. Rob says, got some Eagles news. The Eagles got Jahad Campbell. That's what I wanted us for. Yeah, I get it. I think if Jahad Campbell provided just a little bit more pass rush, value, it would be different. Because he's a hell of a linebacker. But for us, you're talking about Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes coming back, Malcolm Rodriguez. We could have used them, especially if we're going to go ahead and switch to a 3-4. I'm just not sure I would have took him over who we got tonight. Ralph got all the laughs in the world, my guy. Martell Taylor, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us tonight. Martell says, do you think Sanders goes to the Browns first pick of the second round? If he doesn't, where the hell is he going to go? Because I was kind of surprised that the Giants, not surprised they traded back into the first round. I knew they was going to do it. Somebody was going to do it. I thought maybe Cleveland would do it. Just because they may have tried to reunite, Shador and Travis Hunter and all that. But I am a little bit surprised they took Jackson Dart. I'm surprised he went ahead of Shador by any team for that matter. So for Sanders, not to say that he needs any more confidence or he needs any boosting, it's motivation. Because, they've been doubting you ever since you got to Jackson State. They doubted that you could get to Colorado and play football at a high level. You did, despite the fact that you had an offensive line that wasn't built to really protect you. You showed your toughness. You never once blamed your teammates. And for whatever reason, here nor there, maybe there's some smoke. Well, there was a lot of smoke in regards to his attitude and how they reportedly say he interviewed and whatnot. I don't know a damn thing about any of that. Neither do I care. But do I think he deserved to go after Jackson Dart? No, I don't. And I think it's kind of an unfair witch hunt on this kid. Chris Bird, what's going on? Chris says they doing Sanders wrong because he's outspoken and who his father is. He's going to be the best quarterback in this class. I hope that for him. I hope it for Cam Ward too. I watched Cam Ward's his drive, his success move from coming from not being a ranked recruit coming out of high school to going to the small college you went to, then transferring to Washington State, and then finally transferring to Miami his last college year and putting it all together his last year and becoming a Heisman candidate, now turned into number one overall pick. Ralphie says, insert Kawhi laugh. I know. So Ashanti was supposed to be joining me tonight. He probably dozed off on me, man. It's all love. Spirit of Detroit was supposed to be joining me tonight. He probably dozed off. It's all love. But I'm gonna still kick it with y'all because this is a big night, man. Like I said, everybody was pretty much lockstep with we needed some sort of front seven help. We needed somebody that could be a difference maker within that front seven, whether it was a defensive tackle, whether it was an edge rush, a traditional defensive end that can play the run as well as play the pass, or a difference maker at 3-4 weak side linebacker, or saying we needed somebody along that front seven that could be a difference maker. And if you're just being honest about it, man, from the moment Tyleik Williams walks into Allen Park, he's our most talented defensive lineman. Point blank period. And like I said, this probably spells the end for Broderick Martin too. Even though they're gonna probably still give Broderick a nice camp, give him an opportunity to show himself or whatnot. But if Broderick doesn't make tremendous strides, Broderick is gonna be pretty much cut. My man's E. Russ. This means I have liked him from coming. All right, my bad. This means I have liked him from coming from that dumpster. I'll get you. You gotta like him from coming from that dumpster school, Ohio State. I definitely get the pick with the lean out till October and Reader on a 1 year left at 31. So you already got your all pro potential defensive player of the year, defensive end, and Aiden Hutchinson coming back. When he's gonna come back, we have zero idea. How long is it gonna take him to get back to, the level he was at? Because he was still ascending. You're talking about year 3 of his career. He was really he was continuing to grow. And to, have everything just swept out from under him like that and have to start back literally from ground zero. And I said this earlier and I said it last night as well. It's a good chance that we may not be able to even expect quality Aiden Hutchinson, consistent Aiden Hutchinson until 2026. But for a guy his age and his talent, his ability, you already know it's worth it at all. So Mike says the fastest way to the quarterback is from the middle. Absolutely. Detroit fan man, I'm glad you came back in. Detroit fan man says maybe it's the Pistons. Maybe it's the D tackle from Ohio State. I'm ready to get excited tomorrow. Oh boy. Javier Zuniga says that I would have never picked that defensive tackle. Why not, man? Why not, man? He also says, I thought you all were going cornerback. There were some quality DBs still on the board, definitely. But I mean, this is a team, this is an organization. They went corner in the first round last year. They went corner in the second round last year. As much as I'm not completely sold on the cornerbacks that we have right now, they are the cornerbacks we have. And if there was really a guy that I think they wanted that badly to the point that they felt that they was going to take another corner high in the upper part of the first round again, or any part of the first round again, they would have probably moved up to get him. So no, I get it. I think cornerback is a need, Javier, but nah. If you look at the way the run defense fell apart down the stretch, if you look at the fact that outside of Aiden Hutchinson, we were not able to get any pressure at all in the middle or on the perimeter last year, cornerback had nothing to do with that. We had to go ahead and upgrade our front seven. Marcus Willis says, again, now just draft TJ Tuamalo or Josiah Stewart. Now, this is interesting because I have no issue with Josiah Stewart now at 60. That's if he's there at 60. I don't think he's going to be there at 60. Now, I got a funny feeling he's going to go. He may not go immediately at the top of the second tomorrow night, but I don't think Josiah Stewart is going to be available at 60. JT might, because JT is another one of those power defensive tackles that doesn't provide a ton of pass rush help, but he's going to give you a physical presence and he's going to protect the defensive line. So there's always, room for guys like him. Javi says, I called the New York Giants taking either Carter and Hunter and jumping back into the first round for Dart. My dog Martell says, yeah, it was surprising that Dart went over Sanders. I think the Lions are bringing back Zadarius Smith. Spirit of Detroit says he's all right. Mike Barker comments back in, says take a D tackle early, playing the D ends later. Yeah, yep. Joe, what's up? Joseph Osteen. I know you watching from LinkedIn. Just got home. I didn't see this pick coming. Corey Patterson says I'm meh with the pick. Joseph also says feel like he can play right away if need be, maybe 1 through 5 even. Yep, definitely. All right, so Spirit of Detroit, he's gonna come in and join us now.
I'm sorry about that. My guy was crashing out. He was crashing out. He needed therapy, but there's not much therapy I can give him. It's an all right pick, a reach in my opinion. He's not better than Darius Alexander. He's not special like Norman Lott or Walter Nolan. He's all right. He is a role player that is elite in his little role. And that's exactly what we got. Now, Gray Sable going to the Seahawks. That's perfect. That's a perfect fit. And I wanted something like that, a perfect fit. But I got a dude who's all right. What Lions fans are going to say, they're going to grab Brad Holmes by you know what, and they're going to start saying it's great, and it's not. And I look for all right in the third round. It's a very safe pick. I mean, pressure rate, I think he had 25 pressures. I mean, I know his comp is Lee McNeil, but he's literally Broderick Martin. Or not Broderick Martin. He's literally what was Levi Onwuzurike without the back issues.
Nah,
He's
that's not
not.
even true. That's not even
Yes, it
true, bro.
is.
Now
Yes,
you
it is,
now
bro.
you trying too
He's not.
hard to diss.
He's not a
That
pass
that's
rusher,
that's not
bro.
that's
He's not a
not true
pass
at
rusher,
all,
bro.
bro.
He doesn't
That's not
pass rush.
true at
He
all,
doesn't rush
man.
the pass, bro. He's 25 pressures, bro. He's all right, bro.
Have you
He's
watched him?
not.
Because
Yes, I've
we're
watched him.
not
He's
gonna do
bro.
this PFF versus
Well, no,
facts.
no,
We're
no, no,
not gonna
no.
do that. Have you? How much
I
did you
watched
know
the
about
film,
him
bro.
before the draft? When
How
did
much
you
did I
do
know
it?
about Tyleik?
When did you do it?
He all right.
When did you do
I'm not. After Jamar Coleman, I had to look at Jack Sawyer, and I seen Tyleik on film, but he was all right. It wasn't like special. I'm like, man, I'm you know,
it?
he's
Well,
not
I mean,
special in any
like I
way,
said,
in
I
anything.
mean, nah, I wouldn't go
Is he
there.
special? Is he special to
No,
you?
but who was special? When you talking
Who's
special, you talking all
Walter Nolan?
pro. Who was all? Was he on the board for us?
I'm just saying, could you trade up for him?
Maybe they can, but I don't recall nobody ever mentioning that before the draft, though.
As a rock was special.
I mean, I,
I mean,
I guess so, man. But like I
Darius
said,
Alexander is special. I mean,
they've been saying, well,
is he the 28th best player in the draft? No, he's a culture pick. He's a elite role player. That's all he's ever going to be. And you can't have too many stars around. He's a high tier role player, and that's it. That's all he's ever going to be, and that's cool. He's going to play for 10 years. I guess that means something. He's going to have 2 sacks a season. Yeah, all right. It's all right. I mean, a couple names pop out at me. I got a list of names here, and tell me if you take him over these names. How about that? Why don't you tell me you take him over these names?
go ahead, because I
All
know
right.
all of them.
All right. I know you do. Okay.
And there's
CJ
nothing
West.
special. There's nothing special about Norman Lott.
CJ West.
Yeah, because he's bigger. He's way bigger than CJ West.
Okay. Okay.
More scheme
Alfred
versatility.
Alfred
He's more athletic.
Alfred Collins.
Yes, yes,
Okay. Okay. All right. JJ Puigs. Okay. Jamari Caldwell.
no.
I know. I know. You know why you say
But
that?
I'm not saying that like it's some huge ass gap between them. I'm saying they're still both good players. That doesn't mean that I'm dissing the other
Good
players.
players. I mean, he's just another player. He's just he all right.
I'm gonna say this: if you want somebody, because at the end of the day, when it comes to interior the defensive line, if you can rush the passer, don't mean shit if you can't protect the line of scrimmage. As much as I love Darius Alexander, he's not a line of scrimmage defender. That's not what he is. He's a pass rusher. So if you want somebody who's going to help you out as far as being an elite run defender off rip, a guy that can two gap, because that is still very valuable in this day and age for a defensive tackle to two gap, not just pin your ears back and go get quarterbacks. If you're
He's a
gonna
Puna
do,
forward, bro.
no,
He's a
he's
Puna
not.
forward.
No,
You could
he's
have
not,
just
man.
drafted Puna forward, bro.
No, he's not, man.
Y'all just drafted Puna forward in the
No, he's
first
not.
round.
Make the comparison.
I'm just saying.
No,
All he's
make the
going to be is
comparison.
good for it. All he's going to be
Make the
good for is the run.
comparison.
I'm just making no comparison. All he's going to
No,
be
go
good
ahead.
for is the run. He's a run stopping defensive
I
tackle.
guess, man.
He's
I
going to
guess.
two gap. He's going to take on double team blocks. He's a Lee McNeil, bro. He's a butterball guy. It's okay. It's okay.
So, yeah, if you can,
TJ Sanders. He better
as
than
a
TJ
defense,
Sanders.
yes, as a defensive tackle, if you can't stop the run, you can't play. That's just how it is. That's one part of football that's never changed, because if the moment opposing offensive coordinators know you got somebody in the middle that's not ready to stop the run or can't, they will run the ball. Even the most offensively open-minded, pass-happy offenses will run the ball down your throat if you can't defend the run.
This the
Now,
thing. I'm not saying he bad. I'm saying he all right.
no,
Like,
you didn't,
he's
don't
a
backtrack. You've been dissing him the whole time you've been on.
I
Now,
mean,
don't
he's
glaze
Nazir
now.
Stackhouse, bro. He's Nazir Stackhouse plus. It's
No,
all
he's
right,
not.
bro.
No, he's not.
He's all right.
No, he's not. Nah.
He's not.
Nazir could have came out a couple of years ago too, but not Nazir. He's a pure nose tackle. He doesn't do much else. He stays pretty much at zero. Um, he did his job. He was the main reason other guys was able to eat it coming
I
out of
feel
Georgia.
like I'm thinking about Woolworth Sports. I'm thinking about all these people and the crunch time and he's a high tier role player, bro. I was expecting a little more. That's all.
Well, me myself, I'm a let things actually unfold. I'm not gonna give no concrete. This guy stinks or this guy's great. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about the player that I watched for the last 3 years. Watched him transform his body. Saw that he was the most explosive athlete along that defensive line, more than the two dudes who get more heralded pub than he does. And like I said, if you look at the 6'3", the 330, the pure athleticism for that size, you really can't deny it. He's a good player, and like I said, can he evolve into something? Who knows? Maybe he can, because at the end of the day, none of these players are finished prospects. They are projections. So you ain't gonna catch me on camera being the guy that dissed the guy for no reason, and then when he becomes good, hey, I knew this. That ain't gonna be me. What I'm gonna
I
do is
never did
give y'all
that.
honest. What I'm gonna do is give y'all honest, no shock value, nothing. I ain't trying to be no villain. I'm gonna give y'all an honest assessment of the guy. Whatever picks we get, if they stink, I think they stink. It's good. If I think it's a reach, I'll let you know it's a reach. But
Complete reach.
for what was there, like I said, if that's and that's another thing too. I think when it comes to these defensive tackles, man, what the hell is so funny, man? Can we give people
got
content, man? Or we acting out here or something?
I'm not acting.
Come on, man.
Laughing
Can we give these people some content, bro?
I'm trying,
Damn,
bro.
enough of the theatrics, man. Can we give the people some content, man? Damn, dog.
Funny, man. I'm gonna
Unless
have to catch you
unless the
tomorrow,
tequila
bro.
kicked in or something. I
Yeah,
don't
the
know,
tequila
man.
kicked in. I had a bunch of these.
Damn, dog. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of respect for my show, dog. But I feel you on that, man. I got
No,
you, dog.
no. I was on the other show and I had a bunch of them, man. And
Man, that ain't good, bro. But no, like I said, I think overall, man, for what they needed, they got them somebody that can help the interior, help them against the run, a guy that can fill in while Aleem is out. If Aleem don't come back till November, it don't happen. Is what it is. But they got somebody that can provide interior pass rush. They've been stating recently over the past couple months they want interior pass rush. And they how many times have they said, well, generating pressure on the edge is the only way to get pressure. There's also pressure on the interior. I mean, I thought the writing was on the wall of what they was feeling, but it is what it is. I had a feeling. You was gonna do this too, though. I did,
No,
man.
Grace Abel was a better pick for us than this.
Oh,
So.
the guy you've been dissing. You just said offensive
Exactly.
line wasn't important. Oh, come
Yeah.
on, man. I thought O line wasn't
I
important,
would be
man.
mad,
Come
but
on,
I would understand. This is all right. Like this is like
man.
now I gotta hear
I get,
how
I
great he
get it, man.
is.
No,
How great this nigga is.
I ain't called him great though.
Tyleik is so
I ain't gonna
great.
smash a player that I know I didn't damn watch though. You will never catch me fronting like that. Trust me.
Yeah, all right,
If
bro.
I watch, trust me. Anybody y'all see me evaluate, I literally watched them.
He's
I didn't
always in the
Google no
middle of the
numbers.
pack. No,
I didn't faking no funk.
I'm not.
Everybody
I
you
don't.
see me talk about, I actually watched them. I didn't Google
Okay.
pass rush rates and run stop grades and this and that to assume that he's not this and he's not that. I actually watched these players. So
I gotta lay down, bro. I've had too many of these, bro.
I'm
I,
telling you.
I appreciate you. I
No,
appreciate you,
man.
bro. It's always
All
good to
right,
be on
man.
with you, bro. All right.
All
All
right,
love
man.
to you.
Oh boy. That was some silly shit. But anyway, man, so like I said, was it the edge rush help most of us wanted? It wasn't. But is it a guy that can actually affect the pass rush from the interior? Because at the end of the day, if you can consistently create pressure in the pocket between the guards for the quarterback, you have a situation where he has no issue with having a flush left, a flush right. That's all it is. All right, so Mike Barker says, is this reader? Um, nah, he's more athletic than Reader. He's got more scheme versatility, I think, than Reader. He can blitz, I think, the gaps a little bit more than Reader. He's like I said, he's a better athlete. So what you're getting is a higher end replacement in case you decide to not bring Reader back. That's kind of what you get. Let's get to some more comments, man. Let me know what y'all think about this pick. All right, so what I want to do is real quick. I'm gonna share a little bit of film real quick on him if I can find this right quick. All right, so I picked this game right here. We got Tyleik Williams of Ohio State versus Texas. Cause I'm real big on talent. I'm real big on comparison. I'm real big on how do you perform against high level competition. So, let me go ahead and bring this in. All right, let me know if y'all can see this pretty good, pretty good. So we're just gonna go through a handful of plays with them. But as you can see right there, arrows right there on number 91, Tyleik Williams, looking like right there, he's directly over the guard right there. Actually, no, he's shaded. He's shaded to the outside shoulder. So he actually lined up at three tech. They played him at three tech a lot at Ohio State, mainly because he does have the athleticism to give some guards some issues along that B gap. I don't think he's going to necessarily be that at the next level. Not purely a three tech, but I think he's a guy that's going to, like I said, if you need him on first down, run defense down, second and short, third and inches, like that. He is a guy that can line up over the center at zero and protect the line of scrimmage and at least hold things up for those linebackers in Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell and Barnes for that matter to get there. But so I'm gonna talk a little bit through this, but I'm gonna roll some of this film. Like I said, remember he's number 91. There was a little bit of play action, and they get the ball out real quick. You can see it right there, him lined up right there at three technique. He's gonna run a little contain. He's gonna bounce over to the other A gap. Nothing really responsibility wise there for him to necessarily be responsible for. Not at least not on a quick play pass like that. Right There like he was lined up over the center, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna see from this angle coming up though. Okay. Once again at 3. Run defense down, and he pretty much did what he was supposed to do. He did what he was supposed to do. And I believe is that no, that's not Kelvin Banks Jr. That's not Kelvin Banks Jr. right there, though. All right, 3rd and 2. 3rd and 2. 3 Tech again, going to take on the guard. This play has nothing to do with him to the opposite short side, long side of the field. And that's a first down, Texas. Quinn Ewers. Nah, not him, not him. Like I said, had nothing to do with him at all to his side. Next play. 3rd and 2 again. You're going to get him over the guard. Another play to the opposite side of the field. 3 technique. He's going to do a good job of not letting the guard get to his knees. Pretty much keeping the trash away from him. Stay up. Play to the opposite side of the field. 2nd down and 4. Ball on Ohio State 37. All right, you're going to get Tyleik lined up in his favorite spot. Once again at 3 technique. That's Kelvin Banks Jr. over there at left tackle. He's going to pass Williams off the banks. I mean, not Williams off the banks. He's going to pass. Yeah, he's going to pass Williams off the banks. Talking about. You're not going to really, at least in this film right here against Texas, you're not going to really get a lot of long developing plays. That's not what Texas did a lot of last season. So it's going to be difficult to really see him get the opportunity to really get after the quarterback like that. But that right there you go. That's Tyleik Williams with the stop. Hold. Right there. Cool. Didn't have to do too much. Low key, the guard he was going up against could have did a better job of actually holding his block a whole lot better, but he didn't. And more quick passing. All right, so we got Tyleik lined up at 3 technique once again. Number 91, pass him off the banks. A little hand fighting. Nobody really wants to do anything because the ball is designed to go the other way. 1st and 10, ball on the 25. 3 down linemen. Have that big of an impact in this game overall. It's just good to always see first round talent, blue chip elite talent up against first round talent and blue chip talent. Okay. Now people may look at this play right here and say he didn't do anything. Fact is, he got blocked, but he didn't stay blocked. So even if the ball would have been a draw, would have been a trap run wise, he was still there to make the play in the A gap. And I think that's something that's really valuable. Now, this play here, he could have put forth a little bit more effort to get off that block quicker and get over to that gap. Not really, I'm not trying to nitpick on it, but yeah. All right, so that's a long ass film study right there. So I don't want to get too much into it, but like I'll say this: you got a guy that at 6'3", 334, 327. He can do everything you need him to do, plus a little bit more as a defensive tackle. He's not just a run stopper. He's not just a fire hydrant in the middle of your defensive line as a zero tech. He's a zero, he's a one, he's a two, he's a 2I. And as you see at Ohio State, he can play some three tech. Now, the thing is, you didn't get the opportunity against Texas to really see him get after the quarterback. Because at the end of the day, everything was very, very similar to what Dan Quinn runs in Washington with your boy Jaden Daniels. But he's a good player. I think he has a high ceiling. Like I said, where he came in at when he first got to Ohio State to where he's at right now, he could have went back, but to where he's at right now, I think he's still ascending. I'm not trying to sell the fan base on this being a great pick. I don't think he's going to be a bust. I think he's a guy that can step in from day one and help us next season. And with the lean being out the first maybe 2 months of the season, not knowing when Aiden Hutchinson is going to come back, losing the other guys we've lost, Broderick Martin being a question mark, Josh Pascal being more of a tweener, a rotational guy, Levon Wuzarike. We need somebody with this guy's size, this guy's athleticism that can potentially be a difference maker. So, what else everybody else got to say? Yeah, I agree. This guy can play 1 through 5 if need be. Didn't get to see Tyleik too much at 5 tech outside the tackle shoulder, but they did a little bit of it. They did a little bit of it. I think his bread and butter is going to be 0 to 4 though, because you can put him over some tackles depending on if you get like those supersized old school like Walter Jones, Orlando Pace tackles who can pretty much handle his speed to power combination. A little different, but yeah, he's a guy. Like I said, he's versatile. If we want to run a 3-4, or if they decide to predominantly stay with the 4-2-5, he's a guy that can play in either front. He can play in the bare fronts. He's going to be in that 4-4 look. He's going to be in the nose. He's going to be in a lot for this team right here because he has that type of size athleticism combination. Detroit fan says, the best part of the Holmes interview, are you considering trading JMO? Yeah, I have no idea where that report came from. We've never considered trading him. It's funny. It's funny, 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 funny. Mike says need to see him in the third long. True, true, true. Detroit fan man says at 14 years old, Williams destroyed the shot put record at Parkside Middle School with a 48 feet, 9.5-inch toss. There we go. At 14 years old, somebody got some other information outside of football on Tyleik Williams. So, to go ahead and start wrapping this up, I know it's not a sexy pick, but they preach versatility. They've repeated themselves constantly over the past 3-4 years when it comes to the NFL draft. It's not just about rushing the passer. When it comes to defensive linemen for us, you have to actually earn the rush the passer. You got to be able to stop the run first and foremost. And from day one, Tyleik will be able to do that. Now, whether he ends up earning a starting spot out of camp, we don't know. But for what we have right now in that room, he's the biggest, most talented guy in that room. And you got to have space for a guy like that. Detroit fan man says, yeah, he did. He made Bruce Feldman's all freak list in 2022. Yep. Mike says he's a high day 2 pick, which is exactly where the Lions were picking. Yeah, you're a team picking at 28, and let's say PFF or one of these other publications have this guy rated as the 39th player in the draft. There's a lot of variables to that. There's corners mixed into that. There's other quarterbacks mixed into that. But for you, taking the guy that's rated as the 38th overall rated player in the class and taking him at a position of need for you at 28 makes a lot of sense. I know people are going to look up, where he was rated by other publications, but trust, he's a good player. He's a good player. Now, like I said, if you're looking for or expecting 10, 11, 12 sacks out of a defensive tackle with his talent, his skill set, you may not get that. You may get that out of one season, but you're not going to get anything like that consistently for the most part. Now he can grow. And that was the key thing I was trying to explain to Lamar when he came on. You don't want to start giving out concrete evaluations about players right after the draft. These guys have to actually come into camp and grow. People felt the way they felt about Aleem McNeil. They felt that he was fat, he was overweight, he was nothing but a slow nose tackle. Dude got here, got himself in shape, became a force. Now his issue is being able to stay on field. But when Aleem is on the field, Aleem is a damn good player. So, you want to be careful to not clown these players for no reason. You know, I understand not being a fan of the pick, but when you look at what they needed overall, they filled two roles. They got themselves a run stopper to help in the middle of that defensive line that is currently devastated right now. And they got somebody who can also provide interior pressure. So you filled two needs with one pick. Now, is defensive tackle the sexy pick? No, it's not. I get that, but it's necessary. I mean, the trenches matter. Look what Dallas did tonight. Look how high they took a guard. Come on now. Teams are starting to realize, even Kenneth Grant, 3-4 years ago, a nose tackle, a defensive tackle, the style of Kenneth Grant would have been a second round pick, mid to late second round pick, because they would have immediately said he doesn't provide any pass rush value. Look where he went. Look where the Miami Dolphins took him. Look at a lot of picks that happened in the first round tonight. Teams are trying to fill needs with players that fill those needs. Nobody's thinking about just getting a guy that just does this or just does that. Look what the Atlanta Falcons did. Now, Jalen Walker is not a pass rusher. He has the athleticism to potentially become that once he becomes more refined and more nuanced at the position. But what is he? He's a run stopper first. He's an elite run stopper first. They go turn around and get James Pierce. Now, what is James Pierce? James Pierce is a pure pass rusher. They filled both needs with two players. We took one player and filled two needs. I just think that, there were some names that were on the board. I get it. Pass rush wise, everybody's been talking about getting somebody opposite of Aiden Hutchinson that can help. But the draft ain't over. Draft is not over. Just know this. You took somebody in the first round that can help you out in a multitude of ways. Now, from there on, you can still get your edge rusher at number 60, or you could trade up from 60, who knows, and get somebody you may want. But you just got to remember that the draft is not over with. Not by a long shot. I like it. I'm not just trying to kiss Brad Holmes' ass or suck up to the organization or prove no point to nobody. I have zero issue with saying I don't like a player. I said that clearly about the pick last year with Terrion Arnold. I didn't like it. I like this pick. I understand I didn't talk a whole lot about him because I didn't honestly think they would take him. I like the pick because, like I said, it helps us out in a multitude of ways, and it gets us a big body in the middle of that defensive line. We can't go out next season with 6', 283-pound Mekhi Wingo, 6'2 and a half, 270-pound Josh Pascal, 6'1, 287-pound Levi Wuzarike. Can't do that. Can't even depend on Broderick Martin. So, putting it like that, they did exactly what they probably should have did. They got them a versatile defensive tackle that can help them against the run because the team was terrible stopping the run down the stretch last season. Not only rushing the quarterback, but they were terrible stopping the run. They got them with somebody that can help them in both ways. So, like I said, man, we're going to get ready to move on to tomorrow night. We have no idea what's going on tomorrow night, but I will be with you guys early tomorrow when I do get back. In approximately, I would say, we'll be on at about 3:30 again, similar to earlier today. I'm going to further break down Tyleik Williams. I'm going to post some more film on him, and I'm going to let you guys give your thoughts on him. So we're going to go ahead and move up out of here. It's 12:40 in the morning. Eastern time, man. Y'all got me up talking about this stuff. So, like I said, man, the show is gonna be over. Let me know in the comment section. Let me and Ashanti know in the comment section what you guys think about the pick, guys and gals. What do you think of the pick? Was there somebody else on the board you would have preferred they take? And also, what do you think they do from here on? Because they're not going to double down on defensive tackle. They pretty much solved that issue right there as far as the draft. Now, they still could go edge. They could go linebacker, pure linebacker, corner for that matter, wide receiver, offensive line help or whatever. But leave it in the comments section what you think, what they do as far as days 2 and 3 moving forward. Till next time, one pride.